Hello, and welcome to the Lifestyle Series, Session 3. Today, we are going to be talking about a couple of different things and definitely reviewing self-compassion and self-care, our last two sessions. So the ultimate goal for that is just to really reflect on what are those areas that you're really caring for yourself, and how are you being self-compassionate about the words we say to ourselves and how we care for ourselves, and how we bring in that self-care. So very important, because what we do around self-care and self-compassion really dictates what we do with our lifestyle and all of those really healthy habits that help us live our best life. And so today we're going to take that self-care and self-compassion and bring it into one area that can help really nourish us, and that is nutrition and food. Food is medicine. So when we're really bringing in that self-care and that self-compassion into everything that we eat, we can really heal from food. And so today we'll be talking about food as medicine. We'll also be talking about what that means around whole foods and what foods are best for you, and then kind of some reflection time on what that means. So if we kind of take in all of that, and we, pen to paper, so very powerful for our brain, and literally take a food log, then we can see it in black and white, and kind of make a plan around that, not only for our overall wellness, but also kind of bringing that back into our self-care and self-compassion. So it all works together. So let's begin. So food is medicine. So food is really information for your body. Everything that you put into your body really affects your whole body. So it's really important to know that food is medicine. And I can equate that to, for instance, if you have a headache and you take an aspirin, uh, then you have some healthy side effects of that aspirin. So your headache goes away, and you're able to go through your day. The same thing, when you take an aspirin, you could have some adverse reactions, like your stomach could start burning because of the acetylsalicylic acid in that aspirin, and that can be very painful. So our ultimate goal is to kind of look at that and say, anything that you put into your body can affect you. And, just like aspirin can, there's a reason why we eat. And there's a reason why some foods can cause great side effects and then can cause some adverse reactions. So we're looking at, what and how foods affect our body. So here's some examples. So dark green leafy vegetables contain magnesium and calcium. And so it also contains protein, which we don't always look at vegetables as containing protein. And so that leads to some strong and healthy bones. And then let's look at another food. So high sugar, carbonated drinks such as soda. So there's really no nutrients. There isn't any vitamins, minerals, or phytochemicals, and then that can cause weak and brittle bones. And we know that there's some phosphoric acid in that soda, usually because that phosphoric acid is put in there so your body doesn't throw up, throw up after you drink it, because the amount of sugar in that soda is too much for our body. And if that phosphoric acid isn't in there, our body would naturally throw it up. So it's kind of one of those ways that the food industry helps us keep all that sugar down, which isn't the healthiest thing. So we're looking at our food reactions, and that's our reflection point when we kind of write everything down. And I'll explain the food log in a little bit. Is that food that you're eating giving you energy, which calories equals energy? And so our ultimate goal is that food gives us a good side effect of having energy. Or does it cause fatigue? Do you get tired? And do you feel weak? Do you need to take a nap? And, sometimes if I eat a food that I'm very intolerant to, I can't even raise my arms. I just have to go and take a nap because my body's in overdrive to healing. And we know that sleep is medicine. And so when we sleep, that's when our body really heals from everything. And so we can notice that fatigue and that weakness within 20 to 30 to 60 minutes after we eat, if we pay attention and have that reflection point. So everything you put into your body can either heal you or harm you. And that's what this is all about, to really come up with that. So taking a look at these photos, these pictures, what do all these foods have in common? So we look at them and what do you notice here? Denise, what do you notice with these pictures? I think you're on mute. Here you go.
But is this today?
This is Lifestyle Series Session 3.
Oh, it is. Well, because I thought maybe this was an old one from the eating one.
Yep. So let me go back here. You just missed the first slide. That's all. So Lifestyle Series, we talked about the first 2 sessions, talked about self-compassion and self-care. And it's important to start with those 2 because everything we do after that relates to those things that we can take in to really help us live our best life. Like food is medicine, exercise is medicine, sleep is medicine, stress management is medicine. And so that's where it focuses on. So we start with self-compassion and self-care, kind of really kind of hone into those lifestyle skills. And then we move on from there. So today it's about food as medicine, and then we go from there to talk about those other things. So if we don't have
Okay, I feel great because I've been frantically looking for this. I was thinking this was a recording from before.
Oh, yeah. No,
So,
this is,
okay.
yeah.
Now I'm listening.
This is our lifestyle series. And
okay.
So, yeah, and I know you did the healthy eating, and this is definitely part of that.
That's fine. That's
yeah.
fine. I need all this. So
Yeah.
as long as I'm on the right day.
Yeah. So what do these foods have in common here? Notice they're all one ingredient, they're all whole foods, they're real, they're not processed. So as we're looking at these, food is medicine, and so here we have a lot of different foods in kind of their natural form, and ideally this is what we'd focus on. And then we look at these, what do these foods have in common? And we see they're processed, they're kind of golden, they have a lot of ingredients in order to make these, these products. Pepperoni can be uncured, which is a little bit healthier than ones that contain nitrates and other ingredients. So we're just looking at what we're putting into our body is so very important. And then when we put in those things that we know that are healthy and that are healing, that's all part of that self-care and living our best life. And we know when we're eating healthy, it can also really affect our hormones. It can affect our serotonin and dopamine levels in our brain. And, so mind, body, and spirit, it's all connected. So food is medicine, and food is part of that self-care and self-compassion. So when we're looking at those whole foods, they're very nutrient rich. They contain vitamins, minerals, protein, healthful fats, unrefined carbohydrates, all those things that our body needs to thrive. And are those whole foods living? Do they come from a plant or animal? Few ingredients. So we're looking at the most healthful foods are often those that contain the fewest number of ingredients, and then will these spoil? So oftentimes our processed foods will have some preservatives in them and they won't spoil. And so we want our foods to spoil. We don't want our foods to have those preservatives in them because our body doesn't know what to do. They're very harmful to our body. So, and we do know that some root vegetables and rice definitely can last longer than a few weeks, but in general, whole foods will spoil quickly. They're fresh. And the closer we can get them to fresh and just picked and just, you know, like if it's meat, you know, just processed from the animal, then the healthier the nutrients will be in them. So what are the best foods for you? Everyone is really different. You know, I have a lot of, I have an autoimmune that I'm healing, an autoimmune disease that I'm healing, and it'll take a long time to heal that. And so I do have a lot of food intolerances. And so my food intolerances may be very different than others, and everyone is different, and that's okay. So we all have an individualized reaction to food. And like I mentioned before, food is really meant to help you feel energized. And then that's where that reflection comes in. So there's many different reactions that we don't associate with food. And we'll talk about those. So inflammation is definitely one indicator that the food that you're putting into your body is not good for you personally. So inflammation is your body's way of fighting off danger and protecting yourself. And your body literally creates inflammation to help your body heal from injury. So it's kind of that your body's way of kind of attacking what you just put in. And so sometimes we look at autoimmune, and basically it's your immune system attacking something, your own body, like it could be joints, it could be blood vessels, it could be an organ. So your body literally attacks itself from the effects of maybe even the food that we're eating. So even healthy foods can cause inflammation in the body. And we see this a lot in nightshade vegetables, dairy, gluten, soy, corn. You know, these things can be healthy for most of us, but depending on how they're grown and how they're processed and where they come from, that can also have an effect on it. But we do know in general, even for the general population, these foods tend to be very inflammatory for everyone's body. So good to just know that and have that.
How do you know, what does inflammation look like, or how do you know you have inflammation?
Yeah, yep. So there could be a lot of, you know, different things. You could have redness, you could have some pain. Like I know if I eat gluten within 20 minutes, I get like arthritis pain and like in this finger and, you know, this joint, and it is so painful. Redness, like if I do like MSG or a preservative or like soy, I'll get kind of rosacea almost. I don't have rosacea, but I'll get rosacea almost like symptoms. I'll get really red in the face. Headaches are a sign. Weakness, any type of pain. So, or you could even have where you literally will have a part of your body get inflamed, like your ankles or your feet. So you have like a decreased circulation going on. And so there could be a lot of different things. So then we'll kind of talk about that in a minute in a little bit more detail, but no matter what the cause, your body didn't respond well to the food. And it takes a while to really understand how your body reacts to it. And sometimes what people will do is they'll go on a kind of a restrictive diet where they'll keep in foods that they know tend to be really safe, and then they'll slowly add in a food and then see how their body reacts to it. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon of, we get so used to feeling a certain way where we don't even know that food causes us issue until we take a little break, and then we take it in again, and then, whoa, I used to have this symptom all the time and didn't even realize it was from food. But now that it's going to come back with
Oh, she just froze.
Am I back? Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to unmute myself and I muted you instead. Am I back?
Yeah, because you were
Okay.
kind of frozen. Am I
Okay.
the only one again?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm sending this out to the ones that are missing today.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll kind of talk about, about that. Like, for instance, I didn't know that I was very intolerant to dairy, and I didn't even really know the effects and how it affected me until I went off of dairy. And then when I had some dairy, I woke up with, like, I could barely get out of bed. My muscles were so tight, and I had a lot of boogies in my eyes and cotton mouth, had a kind of a sinus headache. And when I stood up, I could barely walk on my feet. And then I had that aha moment of, oh my gosh, I felt like this all the time. And that was just something I thought my body did and had, and there's nothing I could do about it until I did kind of uh, a diet that was a little bit more restricted, and then slowly added things back in, and boom, that I didn't want to feel that way. So then that aha moment gives you an option, gives you a choice. Like, I don't want to feel this way. And so I'm not going to eat dairy anymore because it really does affect me. And so that's the good thing about reflection and kind of taking a step back and saying, how is this affecting me?
After
So
our last eating class, and then I was doing intermittent fasting, and this was before Easter. And
yes,
I was really, and I was kind of watching what I was eating, and I was really feeling good. Well, then, coming into Easter and cooking for people and stuff, and I kind of quit intermittent fasting and didn't really watch what I ate. And oh my gosh, felt completely worse. So
yes,
I understand what you're saying. So I said
right.
I had to go back to that intermittent fasting and really be mindful of what I eat.
Yeah. Yes, I just love that awareness. Awareness is key because, you find something that kind of works for you and makes you feel good. And then you find out that, what doesn't make you feel good, then you have that choice. Then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to that because I was feeling, so much better. And to answer your question from before, you asked, like, what are the signs of inflammation? And here's some other things that I didn't mention before. So there's that redness or warmth in an area or both. So I can definitely feel, like I mentioned, if I have MSG, I can just feel the heat rising, and my body gets really, really hot, almost like a fever to combat that. Like, when your body heat rises, it's to fight off something. And so redness and warmth is definitely a sign of inflammation. Digestive problems, so stomach pain, constipation, diarrhea, any issues going to the bathroom, excess mucus in the sinuses, ear, and/or excess mucus in the eyes and ears, and then just random infections. So we know to heal infections, it's important to get some really good nutrients. Um, and also inflammation can cause some infections all over the body, as well as the stomach and in the digestive system. And then joint pain, like I'd mentioned, swelling or just soreness of the joints, muscle weakness, extremely tired, extremely, a lot of fatigue, headaches and migraines. Um, you might notice that like my gluten intolerance, I get a certain headache that's different than my dairy intolerance. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon that can happen. Dizziness. So, like, I can't even walk through the bread aisle at a grocery store because just the smell of it can cause dizziness. So it's amazing how my body is kind of already saying, okay, there's some danger here. Stay away from this gluten. Rash or other skin problems like eczema is your body trying to tell you something's wrong on the inside. And oftentimes with eczema, we try to treat it from the outside with lotions and different steroid treatments and things like that. And when it's an internal issue coming out and your body's trying to tell you something and we just don't listen to it. Rosacea, which I mentioned, and then keratosis pilaris, which is kind of like chicken skin, which you get these little tiny bumps on your skin. And that tends to be like a gluten intolerance that we notice in people. And then random aches and pains, just kind of all over the body. And these are just, a few things here. So you may have one or several or none of these, or you may have other symptoms that aren't listed here, and everyone is really different. And I know, like usually walking to the grocery store, my nose will start running in certain places. Like if I walk by the bakery or the bread aisle, my nose will start to run. And that's kind of a protection of your body, saying that it is trying to protect anything from like getting in. And so the running of the nose is, protection for the mucous membrane. So it's kind of a good aha moment. And so your body definitely has its own unique way of responding to what you put into it. So
That is really interesting. Just yesterday, I was at my sister's for cards. Okay. I've never really had this happen. She had homemade soup, homemade crescent rolls, homemade, apple crunch, and some snacks and stuff out there. And I had been fine. And then all of a sudden, I just got really tired and I left before the rest of them. And by the time I was coming home, it was an hour drive. I walked in and I told Jeff, I am sick. And I was really thinking I was getting the flu. That's how sick I felt. And then I just felt like I had really, really overeaten. And I had not really had that much. But oh my gosh, did I feel terrible. And today I feel fine.
Yeah, yes. Right.
So,
Yeah. That could definitely be, I could put some bloating up here as well. Yeah, that's bloating and just feeling of fullness, like flu and pain, feeling like you have a cold. Yeah, all of those things definitely,
and
especially,
when you say about bumps, my daughter-in-law gets them. And my one grandson, I felt his arm one time and I said, are you okay? I mean, it felt like almost goosebumps, but it's all over his arms.
yeah.
But that might be an idea to have him like just try no gluten. Because I thought too, you do usually try to take something for it.
Yeah.
It's like you don't really, it's like, well, that's just how I am. But there's probably a reason why that's happening.
Yeah. So if we oftentimes will take something to cover up the symptoms, but it does nothing for the cause.
Yeah.
So, and then that's really hard on our bodies because it's trying to fight off one thing by taking a medication, just for the symptoms, but then it does nothing for the reason and the cause of it. And then you can get even more adverse reactions from the medication that you're taking. Then you have to maybe even take another medication for that adverse reaction. And so you can see how all of a sudden somebody's taking 15 medications because of this cause that would have helped the first symptom to begin with. So
right. Yeah.
We do see that a lot. And that's what's hard. And we in America tend to be just give me a pill for it, just give me a pill. And the pills are just covering up symptoms. So yeah, it's an interesting, awareness is an interesting thing. And sometimes you don't even want to think about it. We don't want to be aware. And most of the time we think of food as being something that you eat and then your body uses it and gets rid of it. And then we move on. And how can that affect us? That can affect us. But then we don't have that same reaction to medication. We know medication will affect us. And we're usually putting it in the same place. We're usually taking it by the mouth, and it affects us. So we do have some foods that are inflammatory, and we already talked about some foods that are more inflammatory than others, like those nightshades, dairy, gluten, soy, sugar, and And then the most inflammatory foods are those that are processed, packaged, or prepared foods, the ones that need to be made in a factory. They use a lot of different ingredients. We know that trans fats are very inflammatory, very damaging to the heart. Anything fried, especially, we know that the higher we heat oils, the more rancid they get, and then they have an oxidative effect. And so when we take them in, they can damage we can have damage down to our cellular level. They can even damage our DNA. They can damage how our cells are working. And so when we have that oxidative effect, then we need antioxidants to counterbalance that. And so fried foods is one of those things. Alcohol really affects our liver and affects how our brain is working. And it's very inflammatory. High fat and processed meats, such as hot dogs, brats, bacon, bologna, and salami. So we're looking at, are there those types of processed meats that are healthier than others? And we have to look at the ingredient lists. And, you know, I will have a hot dog every once in a while, but it has to be like certain ingredients in there, no nitrates, you know, grass-fed, you know, how has it been processed type of thing. And that's the same with all of those, that whole list. Added sugars and sweets in both foods and beverages. Oftentimes they'll take out some of the fat to make it a little bit low fat, but they'll add in sugar for flavor. Because when you take out fat, the food tastes terrible. And so then they add in the sugar in order to have more flavor to it. And then we're increasing our sugar, and we know sugar is very inflammatory. Anything artificial, sweeteners, colors, flavors, very inflammatory. A lot of these ingredients are banned in other countries, but in America, we tend to want that sweetness that comes from any and even artificial sweeteners. Colors, we want our food to be vibrant, and the same with flavors. We tend to get used to a certain flavor, even though it's not natural. Preservatives, like I mentioned before, refined grains such as white bread. So when it's refined, all of the nutrients are taken out of that grain, and then after everything's mixed together, then they have to add in nutrients, and sometimes the nutrients that they add back in are a different form. Like if they have to add in folic acid back into it, it is a different form that our body can't absorb. And so it's better off eating whole grain bread than a white bread that starts with, the first ingredient would be refined grains. And then cow's milk, depending on the processing. And just remembering that we are the only mammal in the world who drinks another mammal's milk past weaning. And we know that dairy is very inflammatory. And so the good news is there are some anti-inflammatory foods, and these foods can really help protect our body from inflammation after it's happening and help heal our body after inflammation. And so whole foods that contain fiber, antioxidants, like I mentioned before, those oxidative fats and the fried foods, and some healthful fats like omega-3 fatty acids are also really good. And then fresh fruits and vegetables, berries are one of the highest in antioxidants. Green leafy vegetables, spinach and kale, and any and all. There's what is there, romaine, and lettuce, and anything that you can think about green leafy. And then those cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. We do know that those have a lot of good enzymes in them that actually help your mitochondria, and that mitochondria is a powerhouse in every single cell in your body. And so people who have like MS have seen a really huge increase in their overall health and healing ability when they eat cruciferous vegetables. Healthier oils, extra virgin olive oil that have been cold pressed, same with avocado oil. Peanut oil tends to be one of the best oils if you want to do some high heat cooking. It doesn't turn rancid. And so thinking of some of those omega-3s and omega-6s. We want to make sure that we balance those oils out. Meat and fish, grass-fed, wild-caught, homemade bone broth, very easy to make, but very high in minerals because you're getting those minerals out of that that fresh bird or whatever animal that you use, as long as it's raised well, you'll get all those minerals from those bones into that broth, and it's very healing and very good for healing the stomach and the stomach lining as well. Walnuts, seeds, chia, flax, quinoa, hemp, sunflower, pumpkin seeds, very high in protein and other vitamins and minerals. Herbs and spices are used medicinally in other countries, and so we try to incorporate those because they are very anti-inflammatory. Garlic and mushrooms. So all of these things very anti-inflammatory and good for us. So awareness is key. So how does food affect you? So we want to really look at that association, that awareness, and really bring that together. So we know that food does have a direct correlation with disease states and health. We know that it all starts with food. When we're looking at our chronic diseases in America here with heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, it all starts out with inflammation. And so the easiest way is to be aware, and by keeping a food log. So writing the time that you eat, the food that you eat, and then how it made you feel within 20 to 60 minutes afterwards. Like really taking the time to take a step back and say, ooh, what is this? And how am I feeling after that? And, even like for me, if I wake up with sore feet, I'll kind of think back, what did I have yesterday? Did I have any dairy, or, could it be something else? And so it's always an interesting thing. If you do know some of the symptoms of food intolerance, then you can kind of look back and say, well, maybe, I didn't have any dairy yesterday, but, what else could have it been? So it can be very powerful tool to kind of figure things out. So kind of a homework. Note how you feel 20 to 30 minutes after eating, and just notice any food labels, checking out those ingredients, even research one ingredient, and next week, if you would like to kind of bring it back and say, here's an ingredient that's new, that I didn't know what it was before. Kind of Google it and see why it's in the food and what it does for the food, and then try a new vegetable. It's always good to kind of try something new, especially in the springtime here, where the growing season just started, and especially in other parts of the country. And then some of our local farmers are even getting some asparagus right now, maybe even some rhubarb is coming up. All of those things are very, very in season and healthy. So do you have any questions?
No, but this is pretty eye-opening. I'm definitely going to do that. Eat. A weird thing that happened to me yesterday, and I mean, I'm like pre-diabetic, I'm not diabetic, but I ate breakfast, and then I was driving to go to my sister's, and I had water in there. I had grape nuts for breakfast. And then I had water in my car, and it's like I just had such a craving for some sugar that I stopped and got a pop, an Orange Crush of all things, and I took a couple drinks, and I'm like, oh, but I thought, I mean, I just couldn't. It's like I had to stop and get that, and I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, usually when we crave sugar, what our body really needs is a specific food and a nutrient. And so kind of looking at, what is, and that's just a good awareness. And usually sugar is one of the top things that we crave. And it's usually like magnesium, and there's for sugar, there's a lot of different nutrients that our body craves. And I can send out the craving list, like what the craving is for, what your body really needs, and the healthier sources to kind of fulfill that nutrient base. Because if we eat the right nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals, and get enough and get a balance, your body won't crave anything at all. So when you get that sugar craving, it's your body saying, hey, I need something specific. I need a vitamin, mineral or phytochemical. And so it's a very powerful thing. It's just like if you're craving chewing ice. Have you ever craved chewing ice?
You know what? When I was in VOTAC, I sat there and chewed ice cupfuls, I think, all year, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Did
then,
you,
later I never did that, but I did that so much.
and did you figure out why you needed
Oh,
that?
oh no, that was, I had, no, I was young, didn't think
Yeah,
nothing.
sure. Yeah. So when we're craving ice and when we want to chew ice, it usually means we have an iron deficiency.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. So there's a lot of those things that that are kind of universal, and chewing ice is one of those things. And so I'll send you that craving list, and yeah, it can be very eye-opening.
On that list, when it says what mineral, does it give you any suggestions on what food has that mineral
Yep.
or whatever?
Yep. So
Oh,
it'll
okay.
say what you crave, what your body really needs, and the healthy food sources to get that.
Oh, good. Say, one
Mhm.
other thing I had, last week you said you found out that your highest quality was
Yeah.
kindness.
Mhm.
Did, where did you take that? How did you find that out? You didn't send that out, did you?
I think so. I think I did in
Well,
the, yep.
well, I
But
thought I looked up, and the thing that I saw was, it showed about how much self-care you give yourself, like how hard you are on
oh,
yourself.
like self-compassion.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
I
self.
took that one, but I can look again, but I was hoping to do that value one.
Yes. So